Good morning, dear students. I hope you all are doing well, and I hope you have seen the introductory video of the same chapter, the Vedic Age. So, this is the fifth chapter of history which we are going to start, and this chapter is all about the four main Vedas which are there in our syllabus. We are going to talk about. So, let's get started with the introduction. We have learned how we learn about the past with the help of the archaeological and literary resources. We have already done about the archaeological and literary resources. Archaeological resources are the resources like the buildings of the past, coins, seals, etc. And literary resources are the something which is in writing, like any books, any scripts, or anything which is in writing. In this chapter, we are going to learn about the ancient literary resources, right? So, now let's come to the main part of this chapter, the Vedas, oldest composed books of India. The Vedas are the oldest text composed in India. They are a collection of ancient religious texts. So we can underline this thing that these are the religious texts. The Vedas originated from the word Ved, which means knowledge. So they are giving us knowledge about the religion, right? There are four Vedas. One is Rig Ved, second one is Samved, third is Yajurved, and fourth is Adharvaved. They all are given us different informations. The date of composition of these texts is highly contested among the historians, means the historians are not very sure that in which time period they are composed or in which time period they are written. So the early Vedic age is considered to be between 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE, and the later Vedic age texts were composed around 1000 to 600 BCE. The period during which the Vedas are composed, that is known as the Vedic age. This we are talking about. It is widely held that the Vedas were composed by various sages over a period of time. So these are, it is not the composition of any one person, it is a composition of many people. The hymns are basically the religious songs of these Vedas are transmitted orally from one generation to the next. They were written down several centuries after they were composed. So basically, when it was composed orally and it was transmitted to the next generation orally only. Later on, after many centuries, when writing part become very common, at that time it was composed by some other person, and it was composed in Vedic Sanskrit, which is very different from the modern day Sanskrit language. And as a Sanskrit belongs to the family of Indo-European languages, which is very much similar to English, French, German, Greek, Italian, and Spanish. They have given an example of the word matra in Sanskrit, which means mother, which comes from the English word mother, which is common in origin. Then, now let's come to the first Veda, the main one, the oldest Veda, that is Rig Ved. And it was composed around 3500 years ago, and it contains around 1000 to 1028 hymns, which is further divided into 10 parts, and it is a collection of prayers. So it is prayers offered to goddess Agni, Indra, Varun, Surya, and other gods of the various by the various families of poets and sages. So it was a collection of different poets, and at that time, people were not only worshipping the common gods, but they were also worshipping the natural powers, like the natural factors, like the fire, like the Varun, Surya, wind. All these natural resources are also considered to be as gods, right? And now next come the Samveda. It contained the tunes of the prayers of the Rig Veda. Then comes Yajurved. It contains the mantra which are recited when performing rituals. And last is Adharva Ved, which is having songs, spells, and magical charms. So, in the first Rig Ved, we are having the hymns. In the second Sam Ved, we are having tunes of the prayers for the Rig Veda. Yajurved, we are having mantra. And in the last one, Adharva Ved, we are having songs, spells, and magical charms. Right? Now, this paragraph is only for the reading, right? To understand that what is all about the in the Vedas, and how the hymns are describing not only the religious things, but also it is explaining the different aspects of the society. Like they have given this small paragraph hymns of Rig Veda, which is mentioning the 19 major rivers of that time, O Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Satudari. So it is only not only explaining the praises of the god of that time, but also explaining about the rivers and the areas which are present there. So this is just for the reading. You just have a give a quick read to this part. Okay. Now next come to the archaeological resources. We all know that archaeological resources includes the coins, like the old buildings, right? Then it includes the seals of that time, right? It can also include the pottery of that time. So all these are the archaeological resources. The information which is derived from the hymns of Vedas are also compared and studied by the historians along with the material which is found by the archaeological resources of that time. It includes the pottery of those time. There are two types of potteries. One is the painted grey ware, another one is the black and red ware. And the black painted grey ware is basically found in the areas of Hastinapur and Ataranji Kera, and the black and red ware has been found located near to the areas of Ganga Valley. So both literary and archaeological resources are help us to understand the life of the people of that time, right? Now, next comes the extent, that in which area it was flourishing. The Vedas tell us that the geographical extent of the places, several rivers such as Sindhu, which was now named as Indus, Saraswati, Gomti, are mentioned in the hymns of the Rig Veda. The most important river seems to be Sindhu and its tributary, that is Indus, and its tributary, that is Satluj, Byas, Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum, and Saraswati. The river Ganga and Yamuna are mentioned only once. That has a reason. Now let's come to quickly come to this part of the diagram. This one small picture is given of the map. Basically, why Ganga and Yamuna are not included in Rig Veda? Because they are present on this part of India, and the Vedic age was flourishing in this part of India. So they were quite away from Ganga and Yamuna, and the main rivers which are found here are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Satluj, Chenab, Indus, and this entire valley, this entire civilization is flourishing around the river Indus. That is why Indus is considered to be the most important river of the Vedic age, right? So now you understand. In the later Vedic age, they moved towards this area. Then they have mentioned about Ganga and Yamuna. But in the Vedic period, the hymns in the hymns, only main focus is on Indus, Chenab, Satluj, Ravi. These rivers are mainly mentioned because they were not familiar with Ganga and Yamuna much at that time, right? Then only the last part is left, that is there was a description of das and daswas in the Vedic period. These are the people who were speaking different language that of the Aryans, which belongs to the Vedic age, right? and later they were termed as the dasas or the slaves, or a women and women which were captured in war, and they were the property of their owners, right? So today we have to cover till here only. Tomorrow we will be covering the early Vedic age and the later Vedic age, its comparison, and we will also try to cover some other parts of the chapter, but our main focus will be early Vedic age and the later Vedic age, its literature, political life, economic life, as well as the social life. I hope this part of the chapter is clear to you. If some part or some term you don't understand, you can always contact me and get back to me. I will be happy to help. Thank you so much for watching.